Okay, today is the first lesson for the muscular system. This is following the skeletal system. We're first going to go over the types of muscle and what their roles and responsibilities are in the human body. So we have types of muscle. Jack, how many types are there? There are 3 different types of muscle tissue. The first one that I want to discuss, and the one we will talk about by far the most of the time in this unit, is going to be skeletal muscle. You can either take these notes on the handouts I provided you or put them on your own paper. This is the first day of muscle, so this is the foundation, guys. Very important. Okay. These muscles are responsible for producing movement of the body. Halloween is this weekend. You're probably going to see a bunch of spooky skeletons. Could those spooky skeletons move all by themselves? No. So I want you to march up to some little kid wearing a skeleton costume and say, this costume is fake, it's false, it makes no sense, you need to be covered in muscle, you little gremlin. All right, Sloan, I'm counting on you. You tell him Thorsten sent you. You can't move the bones without the muscles. What was that, Isabella? Oh, I heard you. I'm going to make him cry. Skeletal muscle helps you maintain your posture. And body position. All of you used to be freshmen. And I saw you when you were freshmen, and here's how a lot of you walked when you were freshmen. You walked like this. Why do freshmen walk like this? Because their backpacks are bigger than they are. Well, if you're doing that, it's likely because you don't have the strength to stand up straight, maintain your posture, and hold your heavy backpack at the same time. So to try to act as a counterweight, you lean forward. Well, if you do this, you're not doing yourself any favors because kids that young are still growing and they can maybe cause a little bit of different development of the muscles in their body. So you got to stand up straight. I mean, I walked like this till I was like a senior, and I just realized I got to fix my posture. Stand up straight. You get taller, look more, you have more of a presence. But when you catch yourself kind of hunching over, go to the second period. Stand up straight. I mean, look at the skeleton. It looks horrible like this. You got to stand up straight. Straight that spine out. And then go around. There we go. Okay, next we have stabilized joints. When I was a junior in high school, I was playing football after school, and I dislocated my shoulder. It just popped out during practice, and the orthopedist said outside of surgery, you need to strengthen your deltoid, which is the muscle over the shoulder, and try to strengthen that to keep your shoulder from popping out. Basically, tie it down better and have a stronger, more developed muscle. And so ever since I was 16, I paid a little extra attention to my right shoulder, just to make sure it's strong and my shoulder doesn't just so pop out. And then lastly, our muscles generate heat. This weekend is going to be a little chilly by Florida standards. I'm looking forward to it. Should be feeling pretty nice. Well, if you're out in your summer clothes, you got your little shorty shorts and your tank top, and you're out walking around and it's going to be 61 degrees, you might have a little cold. Your muscles are shivering because they're trying to generate heat. That's why they do that. Now, Eva, do you have conscious or unconscious control of your skeletal muscle? You control your skeletal muscle. Have you ever been to a gym before? Did you ever tell your arm, lift up this weight? Did you ever do anything in the gym besides be on your phone? So you don't remember 2 years ago what you did in the gym? Did you just stand there? Were you doing anything? You were running on a treadmill. Were you running under voluntary control or involuntary control? Voluntary. So the point is, all of your muscles, more than 600 of them, are under your control. They are voluntary. These muscles are voluntarily controlled. You want to bench press, you control it. You want to do a squat, you control it. You want to run on the treadmill, you control it. The next type of muscle we'll cover is smooth muscle. This muscle produces movement and pushes contents. Now, what the heck do I mean by that? Where in the body do you find smooth muscle? We have been over this. Lillian? That's one of them. One more broad description. A lot of them are in your digestive, a lot of the structures that have smooth muscle are in your digestive system. But what do all the structures in your that have smooth muscle have in common? Yeah, they're all organs. Anna? They're hollow. That's what I was looking for. They are hollow. Your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine, large intestine, uterus, blood vessels, they're all hollow. So when I say it pushes their contents, let's try to figure this out. As Lillian said, pretty much most of the digestive system is made of organs that have smooth muscle. What is inside your digestive organs being pushed through it? Food, of course. What's being pushed in your blood vessels? Blood. What's being pushed in the uterus? Blood. If you're shedding your menstrual lining or your endometrial lining, that's menstruation. That's a period. What if you're pregnant? Push that baby out. The uterus is a muscle. But ladies, can you control it? No. So this is involuntarily controlled. Now, I used to do a demonstration in class where I would have someone like Jack come up here, stand on his head, and eat a cracker just to show that when we swallow food, gravity isn't forcing it to your stomach. If he stood upside down, I fed him a Ritz cracker, he chewed it, he swallowed it, it's in his stomach, it went up. Your esophagus is like this. It's very tightly packed tube. And when you push food into it, the muscles in your esophagus kind of wrap around it and force it down your throat. So when we swallow food, it's not gravity that's forcing it down your stomach. It's muscle contractions. These contractions are called peristaltic contractions. You'll learn that when we get to the digestive system. We watched that when I showed you smooth muscle. Remember the intestines that were pulsating and pushing food through? That was peristalsis. All right, number 3. What's the third one? Cardiac muscle. This is only found in the heart. It pumps blood through, can someone get that? The body and lungs. Can we control your cardiac muscle? Who? You need me? Yeah. All right, hold on. I suppose so. This will be on YouTube. Okay, let's see. So we have smooth skeletal cardiac. Can you control your cardiac muscle? No. But Mr. Thorson, when I go running on Bayshore, my heart beats really fast, so I control my heart rate. No, you don't. You are running really fast and you are controlling your skeletal muscle. Your skeletal muscle needs oxygen and the heart has to pump blood to your muscles to give them the oxygen it needs. Saying that you control your heart muscle is like me calling you stupid. You run home and you tell your parents and your parents get upset. That's like me saying I caused your parents to get upset. I didn't directly do that. I got you upset, and then by proxy, they got upset. So it's not a direct link. You cannot directly make your heart pump faster. You can't just think, okay, I'm gonna make my heart beat faster now. Thinking really hard, trying to focus. It doesn't work like that. Okay, next, let's talk about the Latin affixes you all will need to be on alert for. Last unit, when you saw prefixes like osteo and arthro, osteo means bone, arthro means joint, chondro means cartilage. You have 3 affixes that you need to be on the lookout for this unit. If you see myo or my, that's going to be in reference to muscle. If you see mice, or if you see sarc or sarco, if you see any of those, you need to see, just red flag, alert, 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 muscle, muscle, muscle. There's a condition called myocarditis, heart muscle inflammation. Myo muscle, cardio heart, itis inflammation. Myopathy, muscle disease. Okay. Now, what we are going to get to next is we are going to label the parts of muscle. In this first diagram that you guys have, and you have the handout, this is gross anatomy. Now, gross anatomy doesn't mean, ew, disgusting. Do you recall what it means? We learned this in the first unit of this class. Melanie? You can see it without a microscope. So you do not need a microscope for all the things that we're about to go over. Here we go. So that is a femur, as you all correctly said. I'm going to erase this information so I can have some room to write. You can either write this on the sheet of paper I gave you, or you can write it in your own notes. You guys are in high school, you make that decision. Here we go. Okay, the first term I see here are tendons. Lillian, what do tendons connect? It is connective tissue that connects bone to muscle. Here's something that you do not need to draw. I just want to show you. Here's a muscle that you guys will learn maybe next week. This is your gastrocnemius. You know it as your calf muscle. Down here, you have a tarsal that is your heel. This was on your appendicular quiz last week. Anybody remember what this tarsal is called? Your heel bone? Calcaneus. Now, there's a tendon that connects your bone to your muscle. Do you know what this tendon is, Melanie? That is your Achilles tendon. If you rupture that, what do you think that would do to you? You have a hard time trying to push off on your heel. Would anyone like to be my test subject into how they test to see if you ruptured your Achilles or not? Preferably, I need you wearing shorts so we can actually see your calf. Anybody want to do it? Tyler? Come on, Tyler. Appreciate it. All right, ladies, I need you to pick up your stuff for a moment. Tyler's going to be laying on the table. Okay. Tyler, here's what I need you to do. I need you to lay down belly on the table, legs hanging off the table. All right, so this is Tyler's calf muscles. You're going to learn the real name. It's the gastrocnemius muscle. Now, I'm going to squeeze his calf muscle. Is that all right if I squeeze your calf muscle? What they do right here is your Achilles tendon. It connects your calf to your heel, muscle to bone. Now, if Tyler was, let's say, a tennis player or a basketball player, and we were thinking, oh no, he heard a large pop in his lower leg, might be an Achilles rupture, which is the medical term for tear. So here's what they do. They're going to squeeze the calf, and if his foot kind of jiggles, that means the tendon is still intact. If I squeeze his calf and his foot doesn't do anything, they're disconnected. So watch this. You see it wiggle? Watch it again. You see that? Here's the other one. Now, if his tendon was totally ruptured, would his foot be jiggling like that? No. That's a basic test on how they check to see if that tendon is ruptured. Appreciate it. No, I'm gonna be weird. See, me having to shoot lay on the table and grab his leg, that's normal, but you just clapping. You had to go there. Now, here's another thing. Here's a few other tendons in your body. Right here. That is a tendon. Each one of them goes, you have one per finger on the top of your hand. You have one per finger on the bottom of your hand. Now, what these do is they make your fingers either extend or flex. So I'm going to wiggle each finger and you can see the muscles in my forearm move. Pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb, all of them together. And then if you flip it over, these things right here, those are tendons. They're connecting the forearm muscles in your arm to the other side of your hand. The muscles you have on the top of your arm are called extensors. They extend your fingers. What do you think the muscles on the bottom of your arm do? You know what the opposite of extension is? Flexion. They bring them in. Just like I bring in my arm, I flex my bicep, you flex your fingers. These muscles are basically pulling your fingers towards you. You have another big one, your hamstring tendons. I'm sure you felt those before. Those connect your thigh muscles in the back of your thigh to your tib and your fib down here. Muscle to bone. Muscle to bone. Here's your biceps tendon. Bicep muscle, forearm, ulna and radius, bone. So tendons connect bone to muscle. Okay, let's keep it going. Next, this entire structure here, all of that is a muscle. When you have steak, pork, venison, turkey, chicken, fish, whatever, you are eating the muscle of that animal. Any type of meat, except for foie gras. We talked about that in here, high purine foods like duck liver. That's not muscle, that's organs. So when you go to Burn Steakhouse, they're just cow muscle, cow muscle, cow muscle, cow muscle everywhere. Yes, Sloan.
Oh, I was just wondering, like the muscles when you stretch out your face,
Mm-hmm.
Are they tendons?
Some of them are. Yep. Okay. Next thing we are going to cover is the epimysium. The epimysium is a connective tissue coat on the muscle. What does the prefix epi mean? Think of the epidermis. On top. Basically means on top. I'm going to color the epimysium. Here it is. I'm highlighting it in yellow. It's kind of like the wrapping of the entire muscle. Next, take a look at your diagram. What do you call a individual bundle of muscle fibers that is in the muscle? Like here's let me zoom in for you. Here's one here, and another one here, and over here, here's one. According to the diagram you guys all have at your table, what are these individual bundles? What does it say? Look around. It's good. It's called a fascicle, Isabella. Good. So the next term is going to be a fascicle. A fascicle is a bundle of muscle cells. It's found within a muscle. So, folks, this whole thing right here That is a fascicle. There's a lot of fascicles that are within that muscle. Scout, according to your diagram, what is the coating of an individual fascicle called? Perimysium. Okay, I will highlight the perimysium green. The perimysium is a connective tissue coating on a fascicle. Yes, Melanie. Yes. Okay. Next, this tube right here, that tube is a muscle fiber. So that's the next one. A muscle fiber is a myocyte. Do your translations, guys. What is a myocyte? It's a muscle cell. Good. So smart. Now, why is this called a fiber? Why don't we just call it a muscle cell? The reason why is because muscle cells are very long. Just like my Under Armour I'm wearing is made of polyester fibers, long strands of polyester. Well, your muscle fibers are very long. And so we tend to call them fibers. But if Sloan wants to call them a muscle cell, she's not wrong. And I'm not going to correct her. But I'm just letting you all know that we can also call them a muscle fiber because they are very, very long, like the fibers in your clothes. Now, this next part can be a teensy bit tricky, but hopefully I can clear it up for you. Listen carefully, everyone. Please pay attention because this could cause some confusion. Listen. This right here is not the endomysium. That is something else that we're going to get to in a moment. That is not the endomysium. This is the endomysium. If you look closely, there is a difference. An endomysium separates each individual fiber from each other. This is connective tissue. It separates each muscle fiber within a fascicle. Okay, now I want to share with you guys a mistake that anatomy students make every year. It's an honest mistake, but it's an avoidable mistake. So I want to show that to you. So hopefully you don't even let it happen to you once. Here's the mistake. You ready? My students will think that this is a fascicle and that one of these little cylinders inside is a muscle fiber. That is incorrect. This entire tube is as labeled. That is a muscle fiber. These little parts are something different that we're going to get to next. You don't need to label it now because we're going to get to it later. It's called a myofibril. One of those individual little cylinders inside. Once you get to a myofibril level, you are no longer at gross anatomy. You are at microscopic anatomy, which is what we're going to transition to. So let's scroll down and get out your other paper that has this diagram on it. This diagram that you have right somewhere on top, this is a muscle fiber. It is an individual muscle cell. There are several things we're going to be labeling on this muscle fiber. One thing I want you all to notice is that it is striated. Striated means that it is basically stripy. It has dark bands and it has light bands. That is going to be important for you all to know because the light bands and the dark bands do have a name. But let's just label things one at a time. First thing I want to label for you all is this guy, and this guy. These are all nuclei. The big purple oval looking structures are multiple nuclei. Nuclei is plural for nucleus. Nobody really says nucleuses. We say nuclei. Now, muscle fibers are multinucleated. I mean, just on this image alone, you can see 3 of them. Why are they multinucleated? In this class, kind of like AP Bio, you can't just know why something is what it is. You have to, or you can't just say something is what it is. You have to know why. Let me give you an example. Plain High School is a pretty big high school. We have 2,521 students. We have 6 administrators, 5 assistant principals, 1 principal. There are schools in this county that are bigger than Plant, like Alonso and Sumner, the new school out east. Do you think they have more or less administrators than Plant does, given that they have more students than Plant does? More. Why would they need more, Eva? There's more kids. You have more to control and more to watch over. These muscle fibers are very long, which means that there is more of a cell to try to control. So you need more nuclei present to try to control it. So the reason why muscle fibers are multinucleated is because muscle fibers are so long. And they need more nuclei to control them. The nuclei is where the DNA is, and the DNA is ultimately what controls the nature of the cell. Yes.
So when you go through cell division, do they all do the polynuclei?
Yes. Yeah. Can one of you open the door for Melanie? Okay, now next. This structure here is called a myofibril. It is an individual unit within a muscle fiber. They appear banded or striated, multiple, like a repeating stripy pattern. Now, the next thing I think is kind of neat because this is a little flash of the past. Each one of these little organelles. These are the powerhouse of the cell. What are these? Why would muscle need so many mitochondria? Mitochondria provide energy, and I cannot think of another tissue that needs more energy than your muscles. Your muscles have to hold up your big old bodies all day, every day. And that takes energy. Have you ever gotten home from like a run or a sporting event and you just kind of sit on the couch and go, oh my God. Oh, I can't even move. Your muscles are drained. They move your whole body, your whole skeleton. They need energy. That's why you have so many mitochondria in your muscles. Okay, next. The plasma membrane of the cell is this right here. It's kind of being peeled back in this image. This is called a sarcolemma. The sarcolemma is a muscle fiber plasma membrane. This is different than the endomysium. The endomysium separates one fiber from another. A sarcolemma coats each muscle fiber. And finally, on this image, whoops, you have dark bands like this one here. These dark bands are A bands. They are dark. And then you have these light colored bands like right here. These are called I bands, and they are light. And it is a repeating pattern of light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. We have about 5 minutes left, so we're going to go one step further as far as microscopic appearance and check out what a myofibril looks like. So if you can, I'll give you guys like another few seconds to get that copied, and we're going to go one step further. I want you to find this image here. Pull that up. Should be on the other side of the paper I gave you. Okay. This is a myofibril, okay? It's a rod within a muscle fiber, which is inside a fascicle, which is inside a muscle itself. These blue lines, everyone, like right here, these are called actin filaments. And compared to the red ones, do they look thinner or thicker? These are also known as thin filaments. I'm going to show you how I remember this from when I was in high school anatomy. These red filaments, which look thicker, are called myosin filaments, and they are thicker. Here's how I remembered which one was which when I was in high school. Which word is a bigger word, actin or myosin? Thicker word. Myosin is a thicker word. They represent the thicker filaments. Okay. Next, this zigzag pattern, look at zigzag, 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 zigzag. This is called a Z line. And you have another one over here. Z lines or Z discs, basically the same thing. Okay, next revelation here. Something you just heard. Guys, look at the screen. You don't need to highlight this. You tell me, does the area I'm highlighting, the blue one versus the purple one here, don't highlight. I'm going to erase this. Which one looks darker to you? The blue one I highlighted or the purple one I highlighted? Which one looks lighter? The blue one. This is your I band. You just did that. And what will this one with the blue and the red lines be? That's an A band. And then you have another I band here. An I band is going to be lighter striations. An A band is going to be darker striations. Together, and this will be the last thing we do today, from here, from I band to I band. So you go I. This is called a sarcomere. And a sarcomere is the actual contractile unit of a muscle. It's what makes your muscles actually contract. When you're doing curls, when you're doing squats, when you're doing bench presses, and you're actually putting your muscles to work, the sarcomere is where that is actually happening. And we're going to get to that on Monday, how the muscles actually cause muscle contraction. But that's a good place to stop for today. The last thing I want to do with you all, please look up. Check this out. Here's a muscle. What unit comes out of a muscle like this? No. A fascicle. What comes out of a fascicle? A fiber. What comes out of a fiber? Myofibril. You need to know that order. Muscle to fascicle, fascicle to fiber, fiber to myofibril. That's how it works. Okay, we will stop there.